All right, I think we are live. Yep, looking good. Okay, before we start, I just want to announce something that has to do with it has to do with the last game I played. What was it? The Coma. I do want to apologize to that game. I recently realized that I actually had my headphones on backwards. So I had a complaint about that game, how whenever you would hear her on one side, she would come from the opposite side. Well, okay, listen, that's that's due to my own stupidity. I just had my headphones on the wrong way around. So, yeah, there's that. I'll have to bring that up next time I play it, but yeah. Okay, so just shush, pretend I didn't say anything about that. You knew it. You told me. Did you? I wish I'd seen it. Then I would have actually checked, but yeah. Okay, so keeping in line with the previous game, we are going to play a game by Yames, and this one is specifically called Discover My Body. And this one did come out, it was made and it came out before Water Womb World, so I think it might be set in the same universe, maybe? Seems kind of similar. Oh, and you did? Okay, well, thank you. I wish I'd seen it. When I was looking around at the guy's itch.io page, it does seem that he is working on remaking the game. I don't know if it's going to be paid or what the details are, but he does have a devlog going on. Instead of called Discover My Body, I think it's Discover Our Body. So if you're interested or you want to give some encouragement, I would recommend having a look. Mark played this too. Yeah, I actually saw the first 2 minutes and I was like, oh, this looks really good. I should play it for the channel. And I didn't let myself watch more than like 2 minutes of it. And then I never, got a chance to play it. And then Water Womb World came out and the same thing happened. I saw Mark play it and then I stopped like 3 minutes and I was like, oh, I gotta play this for the channel. Turns out, yeah, same maker of both games. So figured I might as well start playing them. It's a short one, but it's so good. Yeah, if it is short, I've got a little bit of an announcement planned for the end, but yeah, it's probably not going to be much longer than the previous one. All right. You're going to play this disgusting game? Absolutely. In the year 2040, human beings look for increasingly strange solutions in hopes of finding something. Oh my god, I already fucked it. Distrusting previous institutions that supposedly brought people together in common, lonely people look to technology and science for answers. One such new technology is a physically powerful lab-synthesized fungi. You, a medical student at the local university, have been brought in to study its application to a human trial, I think? It would have been nice if it let me scroll through those with a click or the E button, but Okay, long story short, fungi. It's the future. All right. First fish Jesus, now fungi Jesus. Yeah. I'm excited. You must be the new student Dr. Morrison was speaking of. Oh, it's Animal Crossing. Cool. I hear you're quite bright. Have you ever studied a physical transbolitution flowering before? Oh yeah, all the time. That's all I do. I see. Well, you're in for quite a treat. I have assisted with many flowerings before. However, this is my first time in the hot seat. This facility is equipped with a neutron coronal scanner. You'll be able to view my transformation and its various effects on my bodily systems. Just navigate the icon over my body. Oh, cute icon. Oh yeah, hope everyone had a good 4th of July. I mean, if you celebrate it, and if not, then, it's probably just another day. But I hope it was a good day. And scan for info points to click on. My brain's Broca area. Oh, I studied there. Well, I learned about a little bit of it in psychology. Broca, that controls speech, if I'm not mistaken, the Broca area of the brain. My brain's Broca area has been linked to a digital readout. So even when I am at the point where I am beyond human speech, I will be able to communicate. Well, please begin your examination. This is already shady. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Oh, I just flashed back to, It was a Magic School Bus game, Explore the Human Body or whatever. I think you get swallowed by Arnold or something, and you're just running amok in his nervous system and stuff. There was a scanning portion where you could take it looked like a tennis ball racket and just have a look around the body and stuff. I'm a little nervous actually for moving downwards. Is he wearing underwear? I kind of hope he is, actually. You know what? I should have considered this beforehand, but let me just hide this and see. I did not. Okay, good. Looks like he's hiding everything. Thank God for that. Okay. Yeah, his hands are covering the naughty bits. You're right. Exactly right. All right. Didn't want YouTube to get any bright ideas. Okay, so, all right, it's got a face. That's a unique fungus. Pretty sure they're not supposed to do that. All right, boy, this guy's body is weird looking already. He's like made of jello. Ugh. So nothing, I take it the only thing we can probably scan is, the fungus. Aha, you've discovered the primordial inhibitor. This is a device implanted in my brainstem, which helps to undo certain evolutionary safeguards against operations like this. It limits bodily and mental reactivity to meta-existential stimuli. In not too many words, the flowering is an evolutionary aberration, one which requires some retooling of our formation of mental concepts. For instance, one who has flowered does not experience the human idea of time. But if I tried and apprehended this with my regular old monkey mind, I would go quite insane. But anyway, please go on, discover, explore. This is horrible. Okay, I'm probably supposed to go in order, so that's what we'll do. Aha, you've discovered the injection site. 2 weeks ago, Dr. Morrison took a bone-deep needle to my right shin. It hurt like hell. However, what he injected was worth its weight in gold. It was a skin graft of a successful PTB flowering. What's that? It kind of looks like a face. Well, the PTB organism is a psychical organism? It's psychical. I swear it sounds like I'm saying that wrong. I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Physical. What is wrong with me? I was like, wait. Its physical manifestation draws from a shared pool. I thought he was, I guess I predicted he was going to say something like, oh, it's a psychic organism, and then my brain just forgot about the word. Of all its denizens, traumas, fears, and dreams. I believe that's my mother's face on my shin. Oh, how I miss her. But enough about me. Please continue the examination. Oh, examination. Would your mother be proud of you? Because it sounds like maybe this is permanent and harmful. He has a really long neck. Yeah. It's body horror, but in a weird setting. Yeah, I hate body horror, God. All right, we're gonna just go ahead and just see if there's another scan we can do. I don't think there is, so. Oh, that's Eek. Aha, you've discovered my rotting bones. Okay, dude. Yes, the rot has set in, certainly. It itches like the devil. But soft bones are required for the PTB to do its work. The human body was never intended to experience a flowering. Well, why are you doing it then? In the process, one is contorted physically. I did it again. Psychically and physically. Soft, rotting bones are pliable enough to assume a flowering shape. Again, though, very painful stuff. When I begin to scream, I expect you to keep your cool, though. This should all be academic to you. Are you getting any class credit for this, by the way? Oh god, all around with the 5 monies. More body horror game, please. More body horror games, please. Well, they're kind of a bit rarer because you need actual art and stuff, and graphics to do it. So you can't just do it with text. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is doing it. Some people like tattoos. Some prefer bone-consuming fungi. Yeah, well, I'm gonna judge them. I see. Well, please continue. I think that's it. Aha. According to the concentration of the PTB in my blood, I will begin the flowering process very soon. Quick, give me your wallet to bite down on. Wow, that hurt. Sorry. I seem to have bit down too hard and broken a couple teeth. Give me a moment to spit them out. Now then, as you can see by my face, I am midway through the flowering process. Hurrah! Why are you happy? I can feel the inkling of a panpsychic connection, and my body has experienced amazing and terrible growth. See for yourself. I don't want to. Femur breaker noises. Yeah, that's from SCP Containment Breach, right? Wasn't there like a femur shatterer? And I think doing that would call Radical Larry. Not sure. Yep. Boy is kind of screwed. Doesn't look like his mom anymore. Okay. This guy's so casually talking about spitting his own teeth. I think that's the scariest thing about this game, is someone is casually, like he's talking about the weather, talking about how he's essentially committing suicide. I assume that you're if you don't lose your life, you're gonna lose your sentience and whatever you are, and he's crippling himself, he's mutilating himself, and he just doesn't seem to care at all. That's the real horror for me, I think. Like, it'd be one thing if he were like captured and this was being done against his will. I mean, that'd be kind of scary. But the fact that he volunteered for this and believes in it, I think that's a new level of scary. Okay, well, there doesn't seem to be anything here on the topical. Body horror, ooh woo. Avaria's loving it, and with the 5 monies, I'm glad you're having fun. Okay. Well, his legs are gone. Aha. You've discovered my bone growths. As I was saying about the dramatic changes a PTB flowering incurs, well, now, at a bone-deep level, my skeletal system is basically sponge cake. Delicious and moist. But look closer. My bone fragments have begun to reassemble into a complicated, if fragile, latticework of wafer-thin psychic receptors. Some of the bones are poking out of my skin. I knew that. I felt it. Haha. Please, go on. I don't want to. I really don't want to. This is awful. Unless you've got a magic pill that can put everything back to the way it was, this is a horrible mistake. You know what, guys? This is going to be controversial, but I have to say it. At this point, I kind of prefer Fish Jesus to Fungus Jesus. Just saying. I was really digging the water womb thing, but this, not so much. All right. Oh, boy. Bones assemble. Oh, hey, Wandering Sapling is here. Thanks for dropping by. Hope you're doing all right. Aha, you've discovered my new mind. To the extent that the brain is a mind that is... wait, I might have read that wrong. I don't know why I can't read today. We'll leave that to the philosophers. As my own mind-brain disintegrates into the group mind, what remains of my body becomes a small distribution of other flowering mind-brains. As we speak, I am flooded with powerful memories that are not my own. I feel, well, it's hard to even use the word I anymore. Even to distinguish ourself from our timeless unity seems wrong. I feel infinite pleasure as well as infinite pain. Is this what death is? I don't know, man. I'm thinking I might have missed something on the topical, because so far I'm not finding anything here. I can't go up here, can I? No, I can't. Oh, to be a fungus. Alright, I must have. So I'll go through this a little bit more carefully this time. Oh, One of these days I'll get it in order. Aha, you've discovered that my hands have fallen off. Well, I suppose I'll never play the violin again, haha. Joking aside, this is pretty much to be expected. Part of the primordial inhibitor is to disassociate brain and hand connectedness. As a result of this, the hands fall off, as they are merely vestigial baggage, standing in the way of a superior evolution. I'm sorry, just briefly had a bit of ego death there for a moment. I can feel my thoughts intertwine in the rhizomatic group mind. Please continue. Aha, I see we are at the final stages. I complete the flowering. Infinite pleasure, pain, death. I am so happy. I am so happy. I am so happy. Oh, that was it? No, wait, it's only been 20 minutes. Ah. Well, a game by Yames. I love how I only got 2 minutes into it with Markiplier. I was like, oh, I gotta play this. Turns out I was probably like halfway through it. Who made this game, LOL? No. Yep. Well, he is happy. You told me it was a short one. Yeah, but I thought it would be short like Waterwomb World. Okay, well, I figured it would be short, like maybe 40 minutes long. Yeah, you all told me it was short. The problem is short could mean a lot of things. It could mean 5 minutes, it could mean 20, it could mean half an hour. This was so much worse than Mark's. Mark's was ridiculous, was it? Whew. You're loving Yames games, though. Markiplier cheated you. Yeah, well, that's the problem when you click off saying, oh, I want to play it. You don't know how long the actual game is. Next game, please. This is like a Jack Stauber video, but even creepier. Oh, Jack Stauber. I've listened to a couple of his stuff. What's that one song he did? Buttercup? Freaking good. But you gotta watch it with the wrestling AMV, I think. Okay, well, let me just set something up here real quick. It is not starting soon. It's a break. So, I'm restarting my little audiobook narration of R.L. Stine's Trapped, and I'm thinking, hey, maybe I should get a little bit of practice in just with a bit of a live reading, you know what I mean? So I grabbed one of the books off my bookshelf, one I haven't read before, and it's called Night Terrors. Basically, what it is from reading the back of the book, it seems to be each chapter is like a short horror story. It's got about 10 chapters, and just by flipping through, it seems each chapter has a new batch of characters in. So, you know, each story is only going to be maybe about a chapter long, a couple pages long, etc. So I figured if we've got some time left over, if you guys have another 10 minutes to spare, I could just read through it. And that might be fun, I think. I don't know. I'll have to go ahead and put some music on. You know, I cleaned off my desktop, but the problem is that's where I kept all my music, so, But yeah, what do you guys think? Story time? Yeah, it's going to be a live reading, and I haven't pre-read it. The thing I've learned from experience when you're doing audiobooks is, one, always pre-read the chapter. Don't just read the whole book. Read the chapter, because you're going to forget it, and it's going to get mixed up in the other chapters. And two, don't do it live, because you can and will mess up. But this is mostly going to be for practice, and it's a bonus at the end of the video. If you were just here for the game, you know, feel free to click off, but yeah. All right, let me just get that stupid song going. Yeah, we're going to do Monastery from Planet of the Apes. It's just a really good song, and I can't find any information about the soundtrack, which tells me that nobody's going to care if I play this. All around with the 5 monies. Please read at least one story in an Australian accent. I can't do accents, man. I can barely do an English accent. I don't even know what my accent is. People ask me all the time. Man, I wish I had a cool, spooky picture to put up. I should have planned this better. I really didn't expect it to be short. I just expected to wimp out after playing for 40 minutes and then just not even mention reading a chapter out of the book. All right, give me 3 more seconds. I'm gonna have a nice little picture up for you guys. So apparently the one telling the stories, kind of like a la Crypt Keeper, is a grave digger. So let me find a nice, cool graveyard picture. Yeah, so if you need something, it's a stream break. Give me about a minute, maybe 2, to set up, and then when you come back, we'll just read a chapter. You've been told you have a New York accent, but you live in Texas. Yeah, the game was short, so it ended up being a good thing. Yeah, I was gonna do this as its own video, but I figured this would be a cool little intro, I suppose. What if the background picture I bring up just has like Shutterstock watermarks all over it? Oh. That's the thing, you know, I can't just like go and Google an image safely anymore without worrying about, you know, someone saying, "Hey, wait a second." Maybe if it was footage from a game. A Pudbean Soldier Cloud is the background. Pixabay has free images without copyright issues. Okay, perfect. All right, let me have a look there. I've got like another minute before break's over, so we'll see if I can do this. Free images to use anywhere. Avaria, you're a genius. Thank you for that. Dang it, all the graveyards on Pixabay are too nice looking. Like, I mean, they're really decent, cool looking. They're not run down and scary. Let's see. I guess this one will do. You researched for abandoned or horror? Yeah. Well, here we go. This one's pretty good. Oh, wait. No. Yeah, this one will do. All right, 1 more minute. I'll go ahead and mute so I can get everything set up, and then I'll see you guys here in about a minute. Okay, well, that was supposed to happen behind the whatchamacallit, but I guess that didn't. Oh well. So there we go. It's pretty nice. It's a little too bright, but I wasn't finding a lot at night. Wait, no, that was not an improvement. This is so jank. It's fine. We're fine. You know what? It's fine. Okay, so I think we are no watermark, 2 out of 10. Yep. Okay, all right, we're gonna go ahead and have a look. Let's see. There's a bit of a stream bake. Yep, I hope you enjoyed this stream bake. Okay, so the book is called Night Terrors. It came out in, I think, 1993 by someone named Jim Murphy. Apparently, like I said, it's going to be kind of an anthology. Anthology means a bunch of shorter stories put together in one work, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, a bunch of short stories, and they're all connected by the person telling them, which apparently is an older grave digger. So that's going to be our crypt keeper, I guess. Okay, and again, I haven't pre-read this. It could be garbage, but we're just going to read one chapter. The first chapter is, yeah, like 5 pages, so this will be about 10 minutes. Okay. All right, so here's, I guess, what do they call that? Like a prologue sort of thing? More like a snippet at the beginning of the book by the narrator, I guess. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what can this old geek know about anything? Well, you're right about me being old, older than dirt. But don't be fooled by the sagging skin or the hair in my ears or the way my hands quiver. That's this worthless body of mine giving up, not me. Not my mind, anyway. My mind is as clear as it was 63 years ago when I got my first job digging graves. You aren't going to find any advice or warnings in these stories. I won't even tell you that these are all true stories. You probably wouldn't believe anything anybody as old as me tells you, so why waste my breath, right? I will say that if you hang around cemeteries long enough, you hear about a lot of strange things, and some of them are worth repeating. Like this first story. Fellow helping to dig a hole told it to me not more than 3 weeks ago, so you can say it's real fresh. But you should make up your own mind about it, and that's all I'll say. Except that, if you want, you can call me Digger. Well, that makes me nervous. Yeah, that makes me very nervous. I'm gonna mess that name up and it's gonna sound like something else. You cannot stop hearing the old dude from the crypt. Yeah, I wish I could do the crypt keeper voice. All right, so that was the intro. So, chapter 1 is going to be Digger's Promise. If a character's nationality is not specified, it is by default Australian. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1. Digger's Promise. Wait, that's the thing I just read. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that, how can this old geek know about it? Yeah, I just read that. Hang on, okay. Okay, and then it lapses into a new paragraph. Sorry. All right, so just pretend what I just read happened. That was, okay, my mind is as clear as it was 63 years ago when I got my first job digging graves. That was in New York State, in a tiny place on the Hudson River called Garrison. And I was 14. You add up the years and you'll know why my body has had it. I was paid 50 cents to help a man named Clement Arnold dig a hole 4 feet wide, 8 feet long, and 6 feet deep. You're laughing at the 50 cents, I'll bet. You think I got gypped. But back then, 50 cents was reasonable money, almost as much as my father was making at the lumber mill for a day's hard labor. Besides, the Great Depression was in full swing then, so any amount of money looked good to me. I went back the next day and dug another hole, and then another, and another. People are dying all the time, and just about every one of them needs a hole to be buried in. So there was plenty of work for me, even when times were bad. Anyway, come winter, and the ground froze up solid. It was so hard that our shovels barely dug a chip of dirt out, no matter how much we pushed. Pretty soon we had to go to picks and chisels and sledgehammers, but even then we got behind schedule since the colder it got, the more people seemed to die. So Clement decided to use dynamite to blast out holes. Clement seemed like a smart man. At least he was always telling stories about the strange stuff that happens in cemeteries, and saying smart things like, "You kids are in too much of a hurry these days, always rushing around and never standing still long enough to learn a decent trade. All you have to do is use your head a little, slow down enough to listen, put some sweat in, and in no time you'll be a first-rate digger." Using dynamite seemed like a smart idea too. Only, I guess Clement wasn't paying much attention that day. It might have been the icy wind that distracted him, or his cold. Or his cold. He'd been sniffling something bad for 3 days. I guess it could have even been the story he was trying to tell me about the biggest person he'd ever had to bury. Whatever. Clement put 3 sticks of dynamite in a tiny hole we'd managed to dig, lit the fuse, and stood up. He was a huge man, must have weighed 800 pounds, I heard Clement say. He was studying the burning fuse carefully to make sure it didn't go out, so his voice sounded far away and faint. Maybe even 1,000. Imagine weighing that much. Needed a coffin twice as wide as a regular one, and almost twice as high. You should have seen it. Had to rent a crane to get it in the hole. Anyway, guess what this fat man's nickname was. Go ahead, guess. I had already gotten behind a gravestone some 70 feet away and was waiting for Clement. "No idea," I shouted back, peeking over the top of the gravestone. "What?" "You won't believe it. Not in a million years." All of a sudden, Clement got this strange look on his face. It was like he couldn't remember the end of the story, or maybe he was about to sneeze. It doesn't matter much now. The next second, that dynamite went off with a roar that ripped up the frozen earth, a couple of graves nearby, an old apple tree, and Clement. That's how I got the scar above my left eye. A chunk of dirt as hard as a rock hit me there and knocked me cold. I don't think that's what Clement meant when he told me to use my head, but I've been thankful ever since that I had a head hard enough to take a direct hit like that. His nickname was Big Chungus. A couple of days later, Clement was buried in the last hole he'd dug, which was kind of fitting if you think about it. That same day, the owner of the cemetery raised my pay to $15 a week and put me in charge of the digging. Not bad for a 14-year-old. It wasn't long before I hired a kid who was 13 to help me, and I managed to follow Clement's advice about using my head, too. See, whenever I had to use dynamite, I had the kid light the fuse while I waited behind a gravestone. He didn't seem to mind, and anyway, I gave him an extra 10 cents each time, so he made out okay. And I never bent the kid's ear with lots of foolish advice, other than to suggest he get as far away from the dynamite as possible. I did miss Clement's stories, though. Missed them a lot. They filled up the air and helped pass the day. The kid I hired didn't have any stories, at least none worth repeating. I only had the few Clement was able to tell me before the explosion, and I found I couldn't spin them myself, not as good as Clement. So I started listening hard to the others who worked the cemetery, the undertakers, the livery drivers, temporary diggers, wrote them down just like they were told, though I kind of update them every time I tell them so they don't sound funny. In fact, I couldn't tell you which ones I heard yesterday and which ones I heard 30 years ago. But then again, I'm not writing a history book, so who cares? You aren't going to find any advice or warnings in these stories either. I won't even tell you that they're all true. You probably wouldn't believe anything anybody as old as me tells you, so why waste my breath, right? I will say that if you hang around cemeteries long enough, you'll hear about a lot of strange things, and some of them are worth repeating, like the first story. Fellow helping to dig a hole told it to me not more than 3 weeks ago, so you can say it's real fresh. But you should make up your own mind about it, and that's all I'll say, except that if you want, you can call me Digger. Oh yeah, about that 1,000-pound fat man's nickname. I asked around, but nobody had ever heard about him or his giant coffin. I guess you could say that when Clement blew up, he blew the punchline too. All right, so that was chapter 1. I think it was more of the prologue. As you probably realize, some of the prologue inched its way in. Okay, it was one of the shorter chapters because I'm looking at chapter 2, Just Say Yes, and it goes from page 7 to page 33. How long have we been recording? It's going to be about... Your recording is repeating. It's not me, it's the text. Okay, so... Wait, let me see. 7 to 33. So that's about, what, 20 pages? That's got to be about 20 minutes, I figure. You should do a live reading again. Well, if you guys want, I can do one more chapter. I've been looking at the time. We've only been recording for about 40 minutes. So the second chapter, I figure, is going to take 15 to 20 minutes. So we could probably top it out. About 35 minutes, you think? Yeah, you guys want to do the next chapter, or should we put a pin in it there? You really enjoyed this? Want to listen to the whole thing? Okay, one more chapter, just because you guys are so cool. Ezra's voice will sound like an Australian accent after this video is done. You know, if we ever wanted to, we probably could do a live reading with multiple people, beforehand. It'd probably have to be a short R.L. Stine book or something. But yeah. We got lots of people with lots of different accents. I know Avaria's got a, Scottish accent, I think? Oleron Scott, Australian, No Pencils, Italian accent. That would be certainly a diverse book reading. All right. Chapter 2, Just Say Yes. Kelly inched down the long, dark hallway as quietly as she could. Right behind her, and worrying every inch of the way, was her best friend, Marissa. "I'm not sure we should be doing this, Kelly." When Marissa was nervous, she had a habit of talking very quickly, running words together as if her life depended on getting as much said in as little time as possible. Today she seemed to be especially jittery. "It's really hot in here, and creepy with the lights out and nobody around, and my head feels like it's going to explode. Do you have any aspirin?" "Shh," Kelly hissed as she drew near the corner. She should have guessed that Marissa would try to weasel out. She's the one who always had these wild schemes, Kelly thought. And then backs down at the last minute. Well, not this time. Not with Brian counting on me. Kelly slowed her steps and leaned forward to peer down the intersecting hall. No lights were on in any of the classrooms. No talking could be heard. The second floor of Benjamin Franklin High was as still and lifeless as a cemetery at midnight, and yet Kelly sensed a presence, as if someone were watching. "I'm not kidding. We could get into trouble for this," Marissa mumbled. "We could get kicked out of school. We could..." That was when Marissa slammed into Kelly and sent her sprawling to the floor with a thud. "Marissa!" Kelly was as close to shouting as she could get without actually raising her voice above a whisper. "Watch where you're going, will you?" "Sorry," Marissa said. She inhaled to calm herself, then helped Kelly get back up. "I guess I'm scared." Suddenly, Marissa had that little lost kid look that Kelly remembered from grammar school, the one that asked for comfort and help. She felt herself giving in, feeling sorry for Marissa. We really could get into trouble, Kelly told herself, then banished the thought from her mind. What was it their gym teacher was always telling them? No pain, no gain? And she had a lot of gain by getting the exam. "You were plenty healthy when you volunteered us in front of all those kids," Kelly said. I know. Marissa shook her head a few times, drew in a gulp of oxygen, then searched the shadows as if they were alive. "But that was in the cafeteria. I didn't think it would be like this. It even smells funny now. It smells like... Her voice dropped to the merest whisper. "It smells like death." "That's formaldehyde, from Mr. Giambroni's room." Giambroni's room? Kelly sighed. "You remember him, don't you? That's why we're here. Now come on." She took hold of Marissa's wrist and led her down the hall toward the door of the biology lab. "We don't have much time." What are they doing? It sounds like they're going to steal an exam, I think. "You don't have to go through with it, you know." Marissa's voice was calmer and slower now. I'll tell everybody I chickened out, that I puked on the stairs. Brian'll believe that. He won't think you were afraid or anything." "It's too late to back out," Kelly said, tightening her grip on her friend's arm. Kelly had wanted to get Brian's attention for several months, since his first day at Ben Franklin, really, and she wasn't about to mess things up now. "You got me into this, and you're going to help me get that exam, understand?" Kelly focused her attention on the locked door. "I just hope I don't mess up," she thought. How did she ever let Marissa volunteer her to steal a copy of Giambroni's midterm exam anyway? Then she remembered Brian's blue eyes and the way they seemed to ask her for help. She and Marissa had been searching for a table in the crowded cafeteria when Marissa spotted some kids she knew. When they got there, everyone was talking about the upcoming exam, only Kelly didn't pay much attention at first. How could she? Brian was sitting there, too. "It's a killer," a girl named Trish had said between bites of her sandwich. "Half the class fails." She swallowed, then looked toward a red-haired girl dressed entirely in black on her left. "Isn't that right, Jeannie?" "More than half," Jeannie corrected, pushing a pair of rose-tinted glasses back on her nose. She rummaged through a black knapsack until she found a tiny piece of paper. 57%, if my data about his last 3 classes is an accurate indication. Giambroni does it every year, on purpose. He thinks it makes everybody study harder for the rest of the semester. And he's never given anybody an A, Trish added. Never. "I don't care about getting an A or a B," Brian said quietly. "All I care about is passing. If I don't, I can't play football." His voice was so soft and sad that it shocked Kelly. Brian was the team's quarterback, its leader. His voice was always strong and confident when he barked out signals. Even in school, he had a way of commanding attention and respect. This vulnerable side was something new and strangely pleasing to Kelly. It made her feel a little stronger somehow, made her want to do something to help him. That was when Marissa blurted out, "Kelly was just talking about that, weren't you? She's got a plan." "A plan?" Brian asked. "You mean like a study plan or something so you can pass?" "It wasn't anything, really," Kelly stammered. "What are you talking about?" Marissa faced the circle of kids. "She wants to break into the biolab and make a copy of the test. Giambroni keeps it in his top drawer, and Kelly knows how to pick locks, right?" "Is that true?" Jeannie asked. Even through the tinted glasses, Kelly could see Jeannie blink her eyes, obviously impressed. The odds against something like that succeeding must be amazing. In the 100-to-1 range, I'd bet. You must be pretty good. Kelly shrugged. "I was just talking, thinking out loud." "Just talking," Marissa broke in. "Listen, Kelly's got it covered. She knows what staircase to take to avoid the janitor, how long it'll take to get the door open and make a copy of the test. 20 minutes in and out, you said." She wanted to strangle Marissa and maybe toss her into some sewer, too. She'd only been joking about stealing the test out of nervousness, making up a plan for the fun of it. Now these kids probably thought she was a jerk. "Really?" Brian asked. "Do you think you could get a copy? I'd do anything to see that test. Anything." Kelly gulped. She'd never been the sort of person to act silly over a boy, especially one on the football team. But Brian had seemed different, quieter, more considerate, and thoughtful in class. The idea that she'd like to get to know him better took shape over several weeks' time, almost as if a voice inside her brain, faint and distant at first, then more insistent, was urging her on. Next, she'd found herself working up the courage to talk to Brian, to ask him out, all the time, hoping he'd notice her and make the first move. Now he'd done it, though she hadn't exactly planned on breaking and entering as their first date. Even so, she looked so hopeful sitting there at the table. Even so, he looked so hopeful sitting there at the table, his sandwich untouched. Maybe she could get Brian to sneak into the lab with her, together. Of course, she can do it. Kelly is great at figuring stuff out, and I'm her #1 helper, right? Marissa was so proud to be the center of attention that she put her arm around Kelly as if they were having their picture taken. Remember? You said it would only take us two. Boom, we'd be in and out, no fuss or bother at all. Remember? Kelly nodded feebly. Strangling and the sewer were too good for Marissa, but she wasn't sure what punishment fit the crime of having a big mouth. We'd really owe you if you got it, Janine added, with Trish nodding in agreement. Especially me, Brian said, smiling, his big blue eyes looking right into hers in a way that made her shiver. He needs my help, she remembered, telling herself. That's how she found herself standing in front of the door to the biolab. Her wild imagination, Marissa's big mouth, and Brian's blue eyes. Well, now that she was there, she might as well get on with it. Listen for anybody on the stairs, she instructed Marissa as she pulled a metal nail file from her pocket and held her breath. If this doesn't work, I'm cooked, and Brian will probably never talk to me again. Okay, hands, time to stop shaking. He's counting on me. She placed the flat part of the file handle against the door bolt, pushing to put pressure on it, and began wiggling and walking it along the metal. Move, move, she coaxed the lock. This is how that guy did it in that cop movie, only it looked a lot easier for him. She leaned over to get a closer look, carefully working the file against the lock. It's moving, she said, 1/16 of an inch at a time, but it was moving. Come on, keep moving, she muttered. Hurry, Marissa said. Are you almost done? Shut up. Don't shut up me, Marissa said, giving Kelly a jab in the back. I'm taking a big chance, you know. You... Kelly stopped moving the file and looked up from her job. Yes, me. If I get caught, my parents will kill me, and no college will want me, and my whole life will be ruined. I'll probably get tossed off the yearbook staff, too. Now you think of that stuff, Kelly said, angry for the first time. You never think things through, Marissa. You just open your mouth and stick your foot in. And mine. And your parents are nothing compared to mine. If I get caught, I'll be lucky if I ever get out of the house again. Now shut up and listen. She went back to wiggling the nail file, beads of sweat forming on her upper lip. I'm sorry, Kelly, Marissa mumbled. She gave Kelly a conciliatory pat on the shoulder. I thought you'd want to do it, you know, for Brian. It's okay, Kelly said. I guess I'm just nervous too. I keep feeling that someone's here, watching us. You too? Marissa gasped. I felt the same thing. It's the evil eye, Mr. Giambroni's evil eye, that gold thing he wears around his neck. Callie wanted to say something nasty about Marissa's strange thought patterns, but didn't. She really did feel something nearby, a force that was both dark and inescapable. I've got to concentrate. I've got to be strong, she reminded herself. Brian is counting on me. Those other kids are too. Just then the file seemed to jump in her hand. The bolt clicked and slid aside. It's open, Kelly whispered, grabbing the handle and yanking the door open before the bolt slid closed. I did it! Quick! She grabbed Marissa and hauled her into the lab. Let's get going. The wooden door swung shut with a solid, entombing crash, and immediately the two girls were surrounded by the overpowering smells of chemicals and disinfectants, pickled specimens and cages filled with nervous, squeaking mice. The room was swelteringly hot, too, and Kelly had to fight a wave of nausea that came over her. After a few moments, Kelly regained her bearings. You stay here. If you see or hear anything, let me know, okay? Okay, Marissa said weakly, her face pale. She watched out the window and the door while Kelly hurried to the front of the room. There was no mystery about where the test was. Giambroni made a show of placing his tests in the top drawer of his desk, as if he were issuing a dare. Kelly slipped the point of the nail file into the lock and was surprised to feel it give away easily. I'm getting to be a regular pro at this, she thought, easing the drawer open. There it was, the midterm exam. She took a piece of paper and a pen from her pocket and reached for the test. Giambroni had said there would be 40 questions and a brief essay. With luck, she could copy it all down in 10 or 15 minutes. Glancing briefly at the first question, her pen began racing across the paper, copying down keywords and phrases. This was no time to worry about exact wording or neatness. A general notion of the question was enough. She had only gotten 5 or 6 questions copied when she heard Marissa gasp. "What?" Marissa was wide-eyed, her mouth open. This time she really did look ill. "Someone's coming. The hall door. I heard it open." Kelly looked around the room frantically. "Stay cool," she cautioned herself. "Use your eyes and brain, like Brian does when he's scrambling around looking for receivers. There has to be some place to hide. Under the tables, maybe, or under his desk. How about the supply closet? That's it, the supply closet." To her relief, she saw that its door was open a crack. Lock that door in case it's Giabroni," she ordered, dropping the test back into the drawer and closing it securely. "Then meet me at the supply closet." Kelly raced to the back of the room to check out the closet. "Hurry up, there's room in here for both of us." The closet seemed to suck the girls inside. Both sat on the floor, Kelly pulling the door almost shut, careful to leave it open a fraction of an inch for air. Even with the tall sliver of light, the small space was as black as any pit. We're going to die in here, Marissa said, pushing herself against the wall. "We're going to die, and our bodies are going to rot and smell." Then she went perfectly still. "Marissa, listen to me. We have to stay calm. We have to—" Her voice faltered at the sound of footsteps coming down the hall, the gait slow and deliberate, the way Mr. Giambroni walked. "What did I do to deserve this?" Kelly wondered. A key was inserted into the lab door, followed by a gentle creaking as it opened. Marissa latched onto Kelly's arm and squeezed it so hard that its circulation was cut off and Kelly's fingers began to tingle. The footsteps were louder now, coming toward the closet. Kelly started to whisper a prayer when the shadow of Mr. Giambroni passed in front of the closet door and proceeded up an aisle. She let her breath out slowly, quietly, and looked at Marissa as if to say, "That was close." Her friend must have understood the look because she nodded her head. "My pretties," Mr. Giambroni said in a hushed, soothing voice, "I'm happy you're excited to see me." "He knows," Marissa said softly as possible. Kelly leaned toward the crack and saw Mr. Giambroni clearly. He was on the other side of the room, about 30 feet from the closet, and had opened one of the mice cages. A tiny white mouse sat in the palm of Giambroni's hand, and he was studying the creature intently. "So plump, so tender," Giambroni said as he looked into the mouse's black eyes. "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You've had a pleasant life. No work, no worry, no cold nights. Better than most of your kind. Better than most humans, for that matter. And I'll be eternally grateful for what you're going to do for me." What a mouse is going to do for him? He's crazy, Kelly thought. He sniffed too much formaldehyde or something. The next second, Giambroni opened his mouth and popped the mouse in as if it were a piece of popcorn. The last thing Kelly saw was the mouse's tail wiggling as Giambroni's lips came together, and then a bulge in his throat as the creature slid down. Kelly pulled away from the door and sat bolt upright, her stomach heaving violently, a terrible sweet acid taste rising in her throat. She remembered the wiggling tail and had to suck in as much air as she could to keep from vomiting. "A tasty snack, very tasty," he commented matter-of-factly. "You're next." Another cage door squeaked open, and Giambroni's soothing litany of words began again. Kelly found herself rocking back and forth, trying to push the knowledge of what was about to happen from her mind. She glanced at Marissa. Even in the dark, she could tell Marissa's eyes were closed, and she was rocking nervously, too. "You're shocked, of course." Giambroni's tone was as soft and as calm as before. "You've never seen a mouse gobbled down, especially by a teacher. I know how you must feel. I do, really." Kelly stopped rocking and sat perfectly still. Was he talking to the mouse, or had he heard Marissa? "There's nothing to worry about. Not really," Giambroni said. He sounded like a kindly old doctor talking to a frightened patient. Nothing will happen to you. Nothing that you don't ask for. Relax, relax. The calming string of words continued until there was a pause, followed by another satisfied gulp. Kelly squeezed her eyes shut, but the vision of a wiggling pink tail still haunted her. Despite her revulsion, Kelly forced herself to lean toward the opening in the door again. Giambroni hadn't moved at all. He was still staring into the mouse cages. She felt herself relax, pleased at the way they deceived him. A real psycho, she thought. But at least he doesn't know we're here. But I do know you're there, Kelly. His voice had not changed in any way, still gentle and soothing, and yet it came to Kelly like a punch in the stomach. Her pulse began racing, her breath quickened, and a creeping numbness she could not fight seized her brain until she felt completely paralyzed. I've known all along. There was a pause, and then he added, Why do you think the locks open so easily? Kelly, I wanted you here, where no one will interrupt us. Nothing can escape my attention. Nothing. Escape. The word seemed strange and without meaning when it first forced itself into her thoughts. Ignore it, Giambroni instructed. It means nothing to you. Believe me, nothing. Again the word seeped through the numbness that filled her head. Escape. Slowly its meaning took shape and, as it did, her body gained a renewed energy. She thought a second about the word, then realized the obvious. We've got to escape. Kelly began shaking Marissa's arm violently. Snap out of it, Marissa. Do you hear me? Her friend did not acknowledge her in any way. We've got to get out of here, Marissa. Please, Marissa. I'm afraid she can't hear you right now, Giambroni answered. She hears no one but me. You should be more like her, Kelly. You should listen more carefully. No way, Kelly thought as she rolled toward the closet door. She tried to leap to her feet, but her legs were suddenly stiff and wobbly. Her arms felt as if they weighed 1,000 pounds. Instead of a nimble sprint to safety, Kelly lost her balance. Her face smashed into the closet door, and she tumbled out and onto the floor of the lab. You should be more careful, Giambroni said, or you might hurt yourself. After a brief pause, he added, That's your second bad fall of the afternoon. I'm not giving up, Kelly screamed to herself, using a chair to push herself to her feet. I'm not. The door to freedom was only 20 feet away, and Giambroni had not moved to block her exit. In fact, he was still facing the cages on the other side of the room, as if nothing unusual were going on. I can do it. I can beat him to the door. She commanded her legs to run, but they refused to obey, refused to budge an inch. She was rooted in place like some marble statue, trapped in a world that seemed to have shifted into slow motion. She searched the room, hoping for help, for some clue that would lead her to safety. Marissa still sat in the shadows of the closet, rocking back and forth rhythmically. No, she was definitely on her own. She opened her mouth to scream, but no sound emerged. It really isn't worth the effort, Giambroni said, turning to face her. His expression was exactly the same as when he taught class, relaxed, alert, mildly amused. I am in control now. You're crazy is what you are. She couldn't move, but her thoughts seemed as quick and as loud as ever. And sick. You're disgusting and sick. Disgusting? Sick? Oh, the mice. Giambroni shrugged and gave her a shy smile. How can I explain this without seeming to be, well, as you say, disgusting and sick? They were my afternoon snacks, that's all. Their blood, as feeble as it is enough to give me a charge of energy. I can already feel the mice being digested and their blood being drawn into my system. His face took on a sudden glow of happiness. It's a remarkable feeling, Kelly. Truly remarkable, but nothing at all like human blood. Now that is a real treat. His lips turned up in a broad smile that revealed 2 long white fangs as sharp as any needle. Mouse blood, human blood, and those teeth. He's evil. He's The word was trapped inside her head, refusing to come out. It's too stupid, she thought. Creatures like that don't exist. Of course we do, Giambroni said. I did it again, fuck. Giambroni. Giambroni said, I'm proof of it. I wish you could relax, Kelly. As I said before, nothing will happen to you unless you agree to it. You are safe, believe me. I've just taken the liberty to temporarily freeze and silence you so we have the time to present our case carefully. You do understand, don't you? No, I don't understand, you lunatic. I don't understand one bit. Then it dawned on her. He'd used the word we. Who is we? Good question. Let me introduce you. With this, Giambroni snapped his fingers, and the lab door swung open to reveal Trish and Jeannie. They thought you might like to join. We're looking for someone just like you, strong-willed, imaginative, a quick thinker. I just met them. They don't know me. They don't even know my last name, I'll bet. How could they think... Oh, it wasn't just Trish and Jeannie who suggested you, Mr. Giambroni said, nodding toward the supply closet. Your friend did, too. My friend? Marissa? But she was scared silly. When Kelly turned around, she found Marissa standing next to her. You're one of them? I can't believe it. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you tell me? Tell you? Marissa said. Tell you what? That I hunt small creatures at night as a quick energy snack? That once in a while I'll find a human and drain a pint or so? She opened her mouth to show Kelly her fangs. Even if I'd shown you these, it wouldn't have mattered. You would have had me packed off to the funny farm in a second. This can't be true. My best friend, Trish and Jeannie, even one of my teachers. She looked at Marissa. You were afraid out in the hall. You stammered and everything. Marissa beamed with pleasure, as if Kelly had just handed her an Academy Award. Mr. Giambroni said I had a flair for the theatrical, that I could become a famous actress someday. I was just practicing on you to see if you'd... Believe me. Besides, if I hadn't acted afraid, you would have suspected something, right? And then you might not have come into the lab. I'm not afraid of anything, really. Or anyone. That's one of the benefits of joining, Kelly. No fear, no worry. Ever. It's amazing. It's more than amazing, Kelly, Trish added enthusiastically. It's a blast. You can read people's minds, which makes answering stupid test questions really easy. And you can do all sorts of other neat stuff, like freezing people in place. I'm new at it, and it takes practice, you know. I haven't really mastered it yet, but I'm getting better. Yesterday, I got a squirrel to stand still for almost 15 minutes. My zits went away too, Jeannie. I keep wanting to say Janine. My zits went away too, Jeannie added. Mr. Giambroni said it had something to do with the way molecules react when blood types are mixed. Great, Kelly thought. The secret of a beautiful complexion is to become Go ahead, Kelly, Giambroni urged her. Say the word. Vampire. Nothing will happen. Vampire, vampire. See? No lightning bolts filled the sky. No celestial sirens went off. Come on, Kelly. We need you. We need your sense of humor to remind us to enjoy ourselves a little. Being a vampire can be a weighty responsibility. Sometimes we take ourselves too seriously and we fail to enjoy, life. No fear, no worry, freezing squirrels, zit-free skin. You people have to be kidding. This has to be a joke. That's when she noticed the angled shaft of light slicing through the window and falling across the long lab tables. Vampires can't stand daylight. Something's going on here, something really weird. I know, I've been set up for one of those TV shows. That has to be it. She looked around to find the video recorder. They want me to start acting goofy or scared or something. A myth, Giambroni said. Let me try that again. A myth, Giambroni said. Kelly looked at him quizzically. All that nonsense about us hating light, it's a myth. A handy one, since you normal people never suspect us of anything. We live ordinary, dull lives like everybody else, and we don't change into bats at night or sleep in coffins or cringe in terror when we get too close to garlic. Imagine me not liking garlic. A huge laugh erupted from Giambroni and Marissa. Trish and Jeannie joined him. But some things are true. We do have certain powers. He turned to stare at Trish. Although some of us have been neglecting our lessons. Mr. Giambroni, I've tried. Really, I have. But I've been having so much trouble with freezing the squirrel, I don't have time for the other stuff. She bit her lip nervously. And then I have cheerleading and piano lessons and my other school studies. That excuse might work with your algebra teacher, Trish, but not around here. You have to concentrate on what's important. Understand? You'll have time later for those other interests. He came back to Kelly. That's another thing. You'll have plenty of time to do anything you want. I could tell you stories about the good old days in Rome that would curl your hair, but that can wait, I suppose. Right now, the important thing is for you to join us. No. This is bad. Sucking blood is evil. Killing is evil. Evil? No, I don't think so. As for killing, well, it happens now and then, Giambroni admitted. Sometimes we take too much blood and all the excitement, but if you're careful, that won't happen. The donor will feel a little weak, that's all. They won't even remember what happened. And they don't automatically become vampires either. That's another myth. Yes, you have to be bitten, but the most important thing is that you have to want to become a vampire, really want it, before it happens. What do you say? Kelly stared at him for a long time, her thoughts a jumble. It all sounded so inviting, so safe and simple. Still, a negative cloud swirled around inside her head. And if I refuse? Kelly asked. What then? One of those little mistakes? Oh, no, not at all. A little nip and you'll forget everything, even the cafeteria. He waited, but she did not think of anything to say. I can see we have to bring in the big guns, Giambroni said, snapping his fingers again. Almost instantly, a figure entered the room and moved toward Kelly. He was tall and handsome and had piercing blue eyes. Brian? You too? You're one of them? A vampire, he said casually. Yep. But why become one of them? Why not? There are no drawbacks, just pluses. What about the blood-sucking? What about eating mice raw? She gagged slightly, remembering the tail twitching just before Giambroni swallowed him. How can you do that? It's revolting. It was hard at first, Brian admitted. Suddenly, he looked as helpless as he did in the cafeteria. Once, early on, I killed this cat. My little sister's cat. It was an accident, honest, but I still felt bad, real bad. I couldn't sleep for days. But it got easier, especially when Mr. Giambroni pointed out how humans kill living things all the time. Think about it, Kelly. There was a time when your hamburger was standing in some quiet field, minding its own business and munching grass. And where do you think your shoes and belts come from? And the fur coats people wear, and how about lab animals being used for experiments? I could go on and on, you know. The bottom line is that we're all involved in cold-blooded murder in a lot of ways. Brian shrugged, then his expression brightened. Anyway, Mr. Giambroni says I can be a professional football player someday. With practice, Giambroni pointed out, you will have extraordinary physical powers, and they will need to be shaped very carefully, but it will happen. In fact, you might very well become one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the game. Just look at what Joe Montana has done with his, special powers. You could be even better than him. Better than Joe Montana, Brian repeated reverentially. He turned to Kelly. You've got to say yes, Kelly. You've got to. It's great. Ask Marissa, ask Trish or Jeannie. Brian's right, Marissa said. I've never been happier, never felt better. Remember how I used to always get headaches when I was nervous? I haven't had a headache in weeks, and I'm just beginning my vampire career. Trish agreed, adding, no late-night cramming for tests, no feeling left out of conversations either. Neat. And you'll have skin to die for, Jeannie said, and immediately started to giggle. Well, you know what I mean. They sound like a TV commercial trying to convince me their product is the best. Next, they'll offer a money-back guarantee. She looked past them into Brian's eyes. They were a startling color of blue, so deep, so intense, and charged with magnetic power. She had wanted to get to know Brian, to go out with him, and here it was being offered to her. I wonder if he likes me, really likes me, Kelly thought. I do, Brian said. I've wanted to talk with you since I came to Ben Franklin. Now we can be together. For a very long time, Kelly thought. That's right, Mr. Giambroni reassured them. But I don't want you kids getting too serious for 100 years or so. His laugh filled the room again, and Kelly felt herself relaxing. What's the big deal, she told herself. I had a harder time making the field hockey team. Will you become one of us? Brian asked hopefully. We'd like you to. I'd like you to. Kelly felt her fingers begin to flex, then her legs began to feel stronger, more responsive to her commands. Her vocal cords loosened and felt normal. If she could duck past Brian, she could make it to the door and scream for help. Of course, then she would lose Brian forever. Besides, they seemed to need her. We're going to have a great time, Brian said. A great time. Relax, give the idea a chance. Nothing bad will happen to you. Trust me. I do, she thought. I do trust you. So just say yes, she told herself. The word didn't come out. My parents. What about my parents? I don't want to leave them, not now anyway. No problem there, Kelly, Giambroni said. We all lead our regular lives otherwise. We have families, we mow the lawn. We barbecue steaks, rare of course. You can stay with your family for as long as you want. That's the beauty of it all. And if they're ever angry with you, Trish said, you just give them a nip and they'll forget everything. So what do you say, Kelly? Brian asked. Will you become one of us? Will you become a vampire? The answer took shape deep in her brain, swirling around with memories of what her life had been, what her life would become, the new things she would have to learn to do. There was still something dark and evil in all of this, yet it was no longer clear what it was. A teacher would never mislead her. Her best friend would never get her involved in something that would hurt her. And Brian, those blue eyes would never lie to her. Say yes, Kelly, Brian urged her. Say you'll become one of us. I'm not. The clouds of doubt suddenly broke and scattered, and her mind flooded with warm light. Yes, she said, her voice so strong and firm it startled her. I want to become a vampire. While Marissa, Jeannie, and Trish congratulated Kelly, Brian moved closer until he stood face to face with her. He was smiling at her, glad for her. He took hold of her arms gently, then his face came towards hers. Kelly prepared herself for the kiss, their first, but just before she closed her eyes, she saw his mouth part slightly to reveal dagger-like fangs. Then a pinprick of pain shot through her neck. The pain disappeared a second later, and a strange energy began to infuse her body, creeping down her arms to her fingertips, filling her legs with a strength and power they'd never had before. She felt as if she could do anything. How could she have ever doubted her friends? Brian leaned back, a tiny drop of blood at the corner of his lips. Her blood, yet it did not startle her or frighten her. She was one of them now. Giambroni edged past Brian and put his hand on Kelly's shoulder. Welcome to the club, he said, smiling. You won't regret it one bit, Kelly. Not in a million years. Well, that's it. That's the end of the chapter. What the fuck just happened? Okay. There we go. That was chapter 2. I gotta say, I'm actually kind of sad it took that turn. I was expecting those two kids to sneak in and it was a trap and they were gonna die, and then it turned into like a soap opera of, hey, you wanna be a vampire? It's cool. Okay, sure, I'll be a vampire. The end. Oh, gosh. It's better than sparkling. Yeah, that wasn't so bad, though. I hate it when they go with the gooey teenage romances, though. I hate reading that out. What book is this? This is Night Terrors by Jim Murphy. It's a Scholastic book, funny enough, and I think the date is, 1993. I got it at a used bookstore. I tend to get a lot of this stuff there. It went on a little longer than I thought it would, but, still good. You saying you wouldn't be a vampire? Well, actually, that's a good question. The way it's framed in this book, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of drawbacks, but I do have to wonder if I'm reading too into it. But looking at the dialogue and the way some of them acted, I I think it does rob them of some empathy or humanity. I mean, one of them was just casually talking about when she had a fight with her parents, she just decided to bite them, suck their blood, and they would lose, memory of the event. That's really messed up, even if you fight with your parents. And her best friend basically led her into this trap and didn't seem to feel anything at all about it. I don't know. I have to wonder if there's, because, sometimes in vampire media, it's not just, oh, I like blood now and I'm immortal. It fundamentally changes your mind to, I don't want to say be evil, because, what is evil? But it fundamentally changes you so that you lose something. And I don't know how to put my finger on what that something is. We need more reading streams, if you want, of course. Yeah, it's good practice. Like I said, I'm getting back into recording for Trapped. And somebody else is having me read a little bit of an audiobook as well, so I figured, hey, the best way to get more practice is reading live, I suppose. Because, God, if you ever tried to record yourself reading a book, there's, times where you just cannot read a paragraph, or every time you mess up. And it's really difficult because when you mess up a sentence in a paragraph, you can't just go and restart the sentence, because then you'll have to go into your editing software, cut out the part where you messed up, find the part where you got it right, and then put them together. But the problem is, it doesn't flow anymore. Like the way that you were sounding when you were reading one sentence and it cuts off, and then the way you were sounding when you started, stopped for a second and started reading the second sentence, it doesn't flow as well. So when I record stuff for audiobooks, if I mess up in the middle of a paragraph, I just have to restart the paragraph, because otherwise it just, I don't know, you probably know what I'm talking about. Yeah, what makes you fully human, I guess? Maybe your soul? Yeah, good point. If there was no trade-off, as in I didn't lose a soul or I didn't lose empathy, probably. But in this book, I think there was a trade-off. Marissa said that she was nervous and scared all the time, and suddenly she's not scared anymore of anything at all. That's kind of frightening, because, I don't know, fear's a good part of humans. Nervousness is important, anxiety is important, because I think it also plays into how you interact with other people. There are things, you have your filter for a reason. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. You're afraid of, saying something that could hurt someone. If you lose that, then... I wonder if that's kind of not to be on the whole cliche sociopath thing, but I've heard sociopaths lack that kind of fear of for other people, Maybe not for themselves as much, but for other people. Life is cool. Now you need to make the funny noises, Scottish or Polish accent. I don't know any of them. Choose fungi Jesus or edgy vampire. Ugh, edgy vampire. I don't want to turn into sponge cake or whatever happened to that one guy. I'm gonna have to edit the title of this video so that I say, random scary story. I know exactly what you're talking about from when I recorded Joondalup for the Halloween stream. That's right. Yep. It's tricky. Well, says you, the one who runs a horror game channel. What faction would you be in the Masquerade? Man, they're all kind of crap. I don't know. I didn't like any of them, to be honest. I think that living forever would just erode your empathy, seeing so many people live and die. Yeah, that's the question. Is it a biological change that happens when you become a vampire? Or is it just the natural effects of becoming jaded over time? I'm sure that happens, but I also think there's a biological change, because Marissa saying she stopped being afraid, even though she's only been a vampire for a couple weeks, that's significant. You can imagine messing up a sentence is editing hell, especially when you're doing different characters and different voices. Oh my God, it's so hard. Well, you guys just heard me. A lot of times when you're live, you just have to keep moving, because it kind of derails things when you're like, oh, sorry, and then you just restart. But yeah. And then there's some where you probably notice this, but one of the problems with reading is it doesn't always start with the character's name. Like, it'll have a sentence like, oh, but I don't want to do that. And I'll read it in one character's voice, like higher or lower, and then I'll realize at the end it'll say, oh, Marissa said. I was like, oh, I should have done that higher. And so then I'll have to restart the paragraph. And yeah, it's kind of hard. Being a professional audiobook recorder, it would be very, very frightening for me, I think. But I'm an amateur, so. Looks like I'm getting some connection fluctuations. Yeah, my OBS just flashed red for about 10 seconds there. What kind of mic do I have? Oh, I got it on Amazon. It's a Rode cardioid, a Rode cardioid microphone. I think it's only about $100-something, but if you want to use it, you also have to get it. I think it's called an interface or a mixer. I got the Scarlett one. And the reason you need the mixer is because it's not a microphone you can just set on your table and then plug into your computer. You have to set it on your table and then plug it into a mixer box, which then has like an external power source, and then plug that into your computer. So yeah. The interface was like more than the microphone, so that was neat. I used to have a Blue Yeti, and before that, my earliest videos on the channel was a literal mic, a headphone mic set that, was $15 from Amazon that I was using to talk with friends while I played Dead Island. So, yeah. Did you like the Twilight movies? I've never seen them, actually. I was never particularly interested. Time to practice and become one for realsies. Maybe. That's the whole point of the stream there. Okay, well, we're 2 chapters in. I could either do a stream where we're just reading, or save it for another stream where the game is only 20 minutes long or something, because I've actually been avoiding some of the shorter games because I'm afraid of just having a 5-10 minute stream. But if I've got a book like that with just random horror stories that last half an hour, then I think I can play some of the shorter games. Oh, by the way, guess what? Amazing news. I finally checked my email for the first time in half a year. Turns out I have a key for Pizza Time. What was the guy? Hall and Oates, Horror and Oates. He made a game called Stay Home or Away from Home or something. It's the same guy that did the Pizza Time game. I have a key for that, so I won't have to buy it. I'm so glad I checked because I was about to buy it. Yeah, so I'll be able to go ahead and play the game sometime soon. Do you ever think you'll read some Lovecraft's short story or play The Insanity? Oh, actually, I've read a little bit of the Nameless City, the Forgotten City. Nameless, I think. I actually spelled it wrong in the video. I think initially I wrote the Forgotten City, but it's the Nameless City. That's my favorite thing H.P. Lovecraft has ever done. And I read a little bit of an abridged version for the channel once, but this was like 6 years ago. And it's bad. But yeah, I would love to read The Nameless City specifically. I could do a stream consisting of solely short games. Yeah, I could. I've never been a big fan of the 3 short games thing, though. I like to keep it on theme. Like when they don't even tell you what games are in the title, and you have to like maybe click on it and look at the description to hopefully see the name of the games. I don't know. Like, I'm glad I'm getting more games out of people like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, but I feel like each game should have its own singular whatchamacallit. I don't know. And not to mention, with me, whenever I try to play short games, they turn into long games because I talk so much. Yeah. Kind of like Markiplier. Yeah. I love it when Markiplier does it because I just put it on while I'm doing something. But for me to do that, I would have to not only find one game, I'd have to find 3 games, and then I'd have to really hope that they were all within, an hour or 2. So, yeah. The longer streams, the better. I'm always afraid to have the longer streams because when I'm watching someone and I'm like, oh, they uploaded a new video, I'm like, whoa, 2 hours? When am I going to have time to just sit there for 2 hours and blah, blah, blah? So I'm worried if that's alienating people. So I'm trying to keep them more to like within an hour and a half, maybe 2. With the 3-hour ones, I can understand it if I'm trying to get through like a really long game, but mostly I'm trying to keep them a bit shorter. All right, well, heck, thanks for being my guinea pigs. I'm really amazed that anyone stuck around to listen to me read that book. The scary stories are really fun, especially ones from the 80s or 90s. Funny enough, I was actually thinking, on YouTube, there's someone named Dr. Wolfula. He recently read out I believe it was Halloween, as in the franchise, an 80s book for like high school level readers, where Jason gets loose at a dance and starts killing people. And Dr. Wolfula actually grabbed a copy of it and recorded an audiobook that he uploaded for free. And I listened to it, and okay, the book wasn't that great, but it was fun. It was novel. And yeah, that's the kind of thing I've been wanting to do, like with Trapped and stuff. Heck, I'd really like to get my hands on one of the Nightmare on Elm Street books, or I don't know, something like because during the 80s and 90s, they published a lot of random spooky one-off books starring a lot of these franchise characters. I think Chucky's got a few books too. So I popped on Amazon. I was like, oh, well, let me find a book here. Holy cow, they are super expensive. I guess these books are rare now or something, because if you want a paperback copy, which is pretty much the only way they exist, it's like $900 for some of them. And I'd love to read the book, but maybe not that much. So I'm gonna have to either track down a PDF version of some of these classic 90s, horror icon, short novels, or I'm just gonna have to stick with good old R.L. Stine, I suppose. You enjoy a lot of long videos and long streams. I can hear them while studying or doing stuff at home. Yeah, most of the time I have stuff going, it's on in the background while I do something else. But I know that's not necessarily the same for everybody. Would you ever consider the spooky stories like in old-time radio? Yeah, the radio dramas and stuff. I've actually listened to a couple of H.P. Lovecraft stories where a couple people get together and act it out with sound effects and music, just like an old radio drama. There was the one with, it was the one with the kid that was born. It was like an inbred, but he was also like a son of Cthulhu and stuff, and the mom was crazy. And does anyone know what I'm talking about, that one H.P. Lovecraft story? And then like it's a giant head that, I don't know, he's looking for the Necronomicon. Of course he is. There was a movie adaptation of it that had Jeffrey Combs as the spooky guy. Someone's got to know what H.P. Lovecraft story I'm talking about. It ain't Dagon. It ain't the Nameless City. It's not the one where they like dig something up that's frozen. Oh well. Let's see. Collector's items. Yeah, exactly. Well, they did that one. And it was really fun, and I'd love to do that, but the problem is I'm not so confident in my voice acting. The most I can do is slightly exaggerated when I'm doing voices while reading. An audio drama or, like a radio kind of drama production, I don't know how well that would, sound, but it'd be kind of fun to do with everybody, if we got together a bunch of people that liked a story and, the entire broadcast was like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I think that could be fun, but that would take a lot of work. Pretty much any movie that came out in the 1990s had a novelization. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, the book. Yeah. Die Hard's got a book, or at least the second one does. I've actually got Die Hard 2 in novel form. That would be fun to read, actually. There was once a movie inspired by radio dramas, The Vast of the Night. Nice movie. Really? Why not be featured in a short film? I don't know. I don't put my face out there much. I mean, maybe if it was like an animation or something. But yeah. Oh, Dunwich Horror. Absolutely. God, just phonetically spell your name for me. But yes, Shuaf got it. It was the Dunwich Horror. Lovecraft-based is In the Mouth of Madness by John Carpenter. Yeah, I saw that one too, but the problem is it was too surreal for me. Once the laws of reality start breaking down, I stop caring because nothing matters anymore. You've got no power over anything. Might as well just lay down and wait for death, right? Shuyaf. Okay, there we go. Shuyaf. I'll try to remember that. You don't really like the Siren Head games? There's more like experiences than horror games. I prefer Slender. The Siren Head games are pretty short, or I think there's only been one that I've seen, and it is short. I wasn't really that wild about it. I didn't find it a particularly scary monster. What I did like about it is it does seem like a creature, like a cryptid that could exist. Like it wasn't some Jeff the Killer thing where he just got mad and turned into a psycho and now he's like godlike powers and he kills people. It's literally just a long, slender thing that mimics its surroundings and then drops down and grabs you and eats you. That's it. It seems like a real life animal that could, mimic stuff, but with a supernatural edge because, sirens don't exist in nature. I don't know. I like Siren Head as a theme, but I don't find it particularly scary. The Void is a good indie Lovecraft-inspired horror movie. Yeah, you've mentioned that. That's one of the ones I still have to watch. With that voice of yours, it'll be a shame if you don't voice act. Yeah, see, that's the problem. My voice, it's okay, but I'm not very good at emoting or... I don't know. I'm good at calm. I'm good at narration. I'm good at monologuing, I guess. But if I have to get angry, that's hard. If I can get, I can get a little bit scared, but I just end up kind of high-pitched and whiny sounding, you know? I don't know, I've never been good at acting. I always feel fake and cringy, and I think that stops me from putting too much effort into it, so it just, yeah, it doesn't really work. Well, if you need a narrator, I guess I could do that. Let's see. Siren Head would be a perfect John Carpenter film. You know, I think you're right, actually. Skinwalker with a blowhorn. Calm is just your entire state of being. Yeah. I try. I can get a little bit scared. Yeah, sure, a little, right? Well, when I'm pretending to be scared, it's a bit harder. You know, I probably sound scared all the time when I'm playing games, but it's not like the theatrical scared, you know, it's just me with a higher voice when I play games. Let's see. Stay cringe cursory. Yep, that's about it. Okay, well, we've been going for about an hour and a half, and we got to play a game by Yames, which was awesome. We got to read a little bit of Night Terrors, so if you're interested in seeing the next couple chapters, and again, they're not related. I've had to flip through the other chapters, I think, and I'm seeing names like Asia and John, and yeah, so it's different characters, Kirsten, Miriam, Nick. Yeah, so each chapter seems to have new characters, and it's not going to be like vampires throughout. It's going to be a new monster of the week or a monster of the chapter and stuff. So we'll either do a stream with that on its own. Oh, actually, I was thinking of doing a stream of this one book by R.L. Stine. It's a Fear Street book called Ski Weekend. It's where a bunch of these skiers get marooned up on like a mountain resort, and it ends up being closed or something, and I guess there's someone hunting them down or something. That's a book all on its own, so something to think about for the future. Right now I gotta pay attention to Trapped and to some extent another book. But yeah, did the stream just start or did I miss it? Oh, I'm so sorry. We played a really quick 30-minute game, and then I read a little bit from a short story horror book collection for the rest of the time. I'll go ahead and end the stream here, but it'll be archived, so just give it maybe about 20 minutes or something. And then I always make sure, well, what I do is I unlist it, because for some reason when it's processing, it cuts off the first half hour of the stream. So when it finishes processing and posts the entire thing, then I relist it. So yeah. All right, well, thanks for stopping by. Let's see. Alan Wilson, good night. Walking Dead. I played the first season, really liked it. Never got back into it after that, though. But yeah, it certainly would be a nice nostalgic stream. I played that years ago. All right, well, I'll see you guys next time, and bye-bye.